Hello? Hey. Where are you? What's going on? Cut it out with the jokes already. Michael's voice was shaking over the phone. It seems he's really angry. What? Why are you so worked up? What do you mean, why am I worked up? It's Scott's graduation today. On our son's graduation day, where the heck are you? Son? When I asked back with a rising intonation, Michael yelled in frustration. It's Scott. Everyone else is here with their families at the graduation. I'm the only one from our family here. Isn't it normal for families to attend together? He seems quite upset, but that doesn't concern me now. I continued without worrying. I don't have a family, you know? On the other side of the phone, Michael gasped, huh? Doesn't he realize what they've been doing for the past 13 years, or how he's been treating me? If that's the case, that's it. Aware or not, I'll live my life the way I want to. I won't let you have it all your way anymore. I'm Caitlin, a 40-year-old part-time housewife. My husband, Michael, who always says, it must be nice being a housewife, I'm jealous, and we've been married for 13 years. Ever since we got married, he's constantly nagged me about being a stay-at-home mom. However, it's important to remember that it was originally Michael who asked me. I would like you to stay at home to focus on raising our children. Has he forgotten his own words? I just can't accept it. Moreover, as the kids grew older, he started saying, a stay-at-home mom is just an unemployed parasite. He always treated me as if I was useless. Michael's somewhat sarcastic nagging has increased as the children have grown older. It got so bad that I started working part-time a few years ago, but now he scoffs, saying, it's just a part-time job anyway. And his treatment of me hasn't changed. Time flies quickly, and our eldest son, Ryan, is now 18, and our second son, Scott, is 15. I say are as sons, but these two are not biologically related to me. They are Michael's children from a previous relationship. When I married Michael, the children were already 5 and 2 years old. Time has passed quickly, but it has not been an easy journey. I've been told that children might be difficult for me. When Michael proposed to me, I nervously answered him this way. I had always had irregular periods and was told by a doctor, you won't have trouble living normally, but you might not be able to have children. So, when I heard that Michael had children, I was honestly relieved. Because I couldn't choose the right woman, I've made these kids suffer. When we decided to get married, Michael confessed to me with an apologetic look. The reason for his divorce from his first wife was apparently her infidelity. Hearing this, I did my best to encourage Michael. It's not your fault. It's okay, about the kids. We'll raise them together carefully so they won't feel lonely. Caitlin. Thank you. Michael's income, to put it kindly, wasn't high. Ideally, I wanted to work full-time too, to help support our finances. But after hearing that, it just wasn't possible. I think it's very important for a mother to be at home for the children. So, Caitlin, I want you to be a stay-at-home mom and give the kids a sense of security. Alright, I understand. Managing on just Michael's income was extremely difficult. We reviewed our expenses over and over, cutting back as much as possible. Entertainment and beauty expenses, of course, and I tried not to buy clothes for myself as much as possible. But I couldn't let the children suffer any inconveniences. If anything had to be cut back, it would be my things. I truly believed that. At first, I think Michael appreciated it, saying, sorry for the trouble, and thank you. But at some point, Michael started to look down on me. You're not beautiful or young, so why don't you work on improving yourself more? It's embarrassing. I do wear makeup. I take care of myself as much as I can. But I don't have as much money or time as before we got married. It's sad to hear you talk like that. It was different from when I was single and could only think about myself. As I devoted more time and money to the kids, what I could spend on myself decreased inversely. And Michael never did any household chores, using work as an excuse. I asked for help several times, but he outright refused every time. I trust you and leave it to you. Besides, the kitchen is a woman's castle, right? He would say. I never said to leave it to me or not to help. Before we married, he seemed manly and wonderful, but he had become a mere male chauvinist. The only solace I had was in the children. When we first married, the children were 5 and 2 years old. If they had been a bit younger, maybe they wouldn't have been so wary, but especially Ryan had a big negative reaction to me. I want mom. You're not my mom. Ryan. I was almost in tears as I hugged the sobbing Ryan. Still, I thought they had begun to trust me a bit more over time. However, an unexpected interruption occurred. It was Michael. He should have been my biggest supporter, yet I never imagined that someone so close would become an adversary. Perhaps Michael couldn't stand the kids becoming more attached to me than to him. Caitlin, you've gained weight, haven't you? Look, kids. Look at that sloppy body. It's proof she can't manage herself. Be glad you're not related by blood. He would belittle my figure, and he was relentless in criticizing my appearance. People are finished when they stop caring about how they look. Caitlin is unemployed, so she must have lost all sense of beauty. You guys be careful, all right? I couldn't stay silent after that. Hey, can we talk? It's one thing to think it, or to criticize me privately. But please stop belittling me in front of the kids. I felt awful, of course, but more than that, I was worried about the future of our children if they picked up Michael's manner of speaking. The kids were still growing, and they could absorb anything, good or bad. Their father, Michael, was gleefully looking down on me, their stepmother. I didn't want to show them that. What are you talking about? You're just hurt because I hit the nail on the head. Don't use the kids as an excuse. Yes, it hurts when you say those things. But more than that, I'm really worried about what the kids might become. Shut up. Don't blame others. What I'm saying isn't bad or anything. It's just the truth. Since when is it wrong to speak the truth? Despite my calm explanation, Michael flew into a rage, and from then on, he refused to listen to anything I had to say. Instead, the insults towards me escalated. Whenever I would discipline the children, Michael would invariably interject. Ryan, look here, you still have food left on your plate. Let's try to eat everything cleanly, okay? It was just a casual remark when I noticed the scattered food on Ryan's plate during dinner. From beside me, a heavy sigh came, followed by Michael grumbling discontentedly. All you do is nag, yet you don't earn a cent. It was the usual pattern. Michael would look to Ryan and Scott, tilting his head as if seeking their agreement, right? It's not, just nagging. I'm just pointing out manners so they don't struggle in the future. Ha, taking care of kids that aren't even yours, how noble. I felt my blood boil at his words. What kind of person says such things in front of young children? I was so upset that words failed me. I felt ashamed of myself. From that day, I began to avoid conflicts with Michael and tried to gauge his moods. I didn't want the children to see us arguing if I could help it. Michael was easy to read. If you flattered him, he stayed in a good mood. I knew this approach was wrong, but I couldn't think of any other way. The simplest solution would have been to divorce, but then what would become of Ryan and Scott? I couldn't abandon them. So I make it a priority to spend even a little time peacefully. I did my best to prioritize this. And before I knew it, 13 years had passed. The once young brothers were now completely influenced by Michael. They might look different, but their way of thinking mirrored him exactly. Because Michael belittled me in front of them, they thought it was normal. They began to demean me openly. Hey, stop. When Ryan called out to me and I turned around, he said with a frown. Some friends are coming over tomorrow. Go somewhere else. I mean, it'd be embarrassing if they saw you. If only I had a younger, prettier mom. I wouldn't have to deal with this hassle. All right. This wasn't just the typical embarrassment of adolescence. He truly felt ashamed of me. Since similar statements had been repeated, I had grown accustomed to being hurt. Oh, before you go out, leave some pocket money. And did you iron the clothes I asked for? Oh, and the college application deadline is coming up. Make sure that's done. Despite claiming it's embarrassing to be seen with me, they still heavily rely on me for chores. This too, they must have picked up from Michael. Then Scott chimed in. Hey, did you check up on my tutoring? Oh, and there's a pickup for my club activities tomorrow. Thanks in advance. Without waiting for my response, both Ryan and Scott went back to their rooms. For them, asking me to do things is just expected. No trace of gratitude. They probably can't even conceive of it anymore. At dinner, the source of all these problems, Michael, who serves as a role model for the brothers, looked at me quizzically before bringing something up. You should start earning some money. What? Michael dramatically sighed and conspicuously slumped his shoulders. Do you even realize how long I've been supporting you? I've overlooked a lot until now, but how many years has it been since you've been unemployed? Have you even thought about it? I bristled at these words from Michael. I'm not unemployed. I've been working part-time since Scott started elementary school. Yes. When Scott was still a preschooler, I stayed at home full-time, out of pity. But once Scott started elementary school, I began working part-time in the mornings on weekdays. However, even after starting the part-time job, Scott often fell ill and I had to apologize to my workplace and take time off each time. When I had to take a whole week off, I desperately pleaded with Michael to take over for just one day, or even half a day. Can you please look after Scott just for one day or half a day? I had always been the one to take time off, so I thought he might agree just for one day. But the response I received was utterly irresponsible. Huh? Impossible. I'm busy with work. You should understand that. No way. Why should I? I am busy with work. In other words, Michael did not consider my part-time job as actual work. I had realized then how little he valued my part-time work, but being treated as unemployed was still something I couldn't tolerate. It may not be much, but I'm still working and earning about $800 a month. When I challenged his comment about being unemployed, not just Michael but Ryan and Scott also began to snicker. Wow, she says it so proudly. $800 is ridiculously little. Yeah, right. And to think you can say that with such a proud face. That guts is really something. With the boy's words, Michael puffed his nostrils in triumph. Exactly, they're right. After all, they don't need much looking after anymore, so Caitlin could at least be of some use around here. Since you're not related by blood, you won't even be recognized as part of this family if this continues. Watching the three of them laugh uproariously, something I had been barely holding together inside me started to crumble. It's no use anymore. I would break if this went on. For my own sake, I can no longer force myself. Once I have fulfilled my last obligation, I will leave this house. That day, I made a firm vow. Tomorrow, Scott graduates from middle school, huh? That's a relief. Months after I had made my decision, Ryan had been accepted to university, and Scott was about to have his middle school graduation ceremony the next day. At night, after the children had gone back to their rooms, Michael was cheerfully drinking behind me as I washed the dishes. You know, honestly, before marrying you, I was really struggling. I was wondering what to do. Michael, slightly drunk and in a good mood, spoke freely. My mom, who had been looking after Ryan and Scott, told me she couldn't take care of them anymore. I was thinking about maybe putting them in a facility. But then, just in time, I got married to you. I'm really lucky, huh? I had vaguely heard about this from my mother-in-law not long after we got married. Michael had taken custody of the children, but had mostly left their care to his mother. It must have been physically demanding for the nearly 60-year-old grandmother to take care of two young children. Eventually, she couldn't handle the responsibility and told Michael to take care of them himself. That's when my marriage to him was settled. Really, from the beginning to the end, I was a convenient woman for you. Even I'm amazed at myself. Huh? What's up? Are you sulking? Stop talking about annoying things. Once both kids start working, let's go on a trip or something. That'll satisfy you, right? I deliberately made noise with the dishes, pretending not to hear and ignoring Michael's talk. When I finished washing, I sat opposite Michael and kept pouring him drinks. Here, drink some more. Tomorrow is Scott's big graduation day, after all. Oh. Right, you can be thoughtful sometimes. Michael happily reddened his face, continually lifting the glass to his mouth. Eventually, there were so many bottles and cans that it was hard to tell how much he had drunk. The next day, I was on a train, feeling refreshed. I wonder if the graduation ceremony has started by now. I muttered to myself, looking out of the train window, and spent my time leisurely. When was the last time I felt so calm? Suddenly, I checked my phone, which was on silent mode, and saw a staggering number of missed calls. Most of them were from Michael. Ryan had also called me. From the looks of these calls, they must have been in a huge rush this morning. Normally, both Ryan and Scott are strong in the mornings. Even if I don't wake them, they come downstairs on their own when it's time. Therefore, I assumed that one of them would have woken up Michael, who was likely still at the table asleep. As a mercy, I had placed several alarm clocks around Michael before leaving. So, I thought they wouldn't have overslept and been late for the graduation ceremony. Well, the real problem starts after that. I had left the suit, tie, socks, and everything else they needed for the graduation ceremony neatly stored in the closet when I left the house. As a maximum act of kindness, everything was either freshly laundered or dry cleaned. Normally, that would be enough for someone to get dressed on their own. But Michael isn't normal. Throughout these 13 years, he has completely relied on me to take care of him. By now, he probably doesn't even know which suit is appropriate for a graduation ceremony, let alone which one to wear. Normally, you'd prepare the day before, wouldn't you? Surely, no, definitely, Michael wouldn't have done that. Even when he got drunk, or even passed out from drinking, I was always there to clean up the mess. What must they have thought when the person they relied on completely suddenly disappeared one day? I'm curious about their expressions. Did they panic? Maybe they even flew into a rage. Either way, it doesn't concern me now. After a while, my train arrived at the destination, and I got off, carrying my luggage. As I passed through the ticket gate and turned off the silent mode on my phone, it immediately began to ring. It was a call from Michael. Hello? Hey. Where are you? What's going on? Cut it out with the jokes already. Michael's voice was shaking over the phone. What? Why are you so worked up? What do you mean, why am I worked up? It's Scott's graduation today. On our son's graduation day, where the heck are you? Son? When I asked back with a rising intonation, Michael yelled in frustration. It's Scott. Everyone else is here with their families at the graduation. I'm the only one from our family here. Isn't it normal for families to attend together? And, by the way, you didn't even prepare clothes, did you? If Mom hadn't come, it would have been a disaster. To his completely misplaced anger and blame shifting, I responded calmly. For someone your age, and especially over such matters, to rely on your mother, I think it's your thinking that's a real disaster. What did you say? Michael retorted in astonishment. He seemed quite upset, but that didn't concern me anymore. I continued, unconcerned. And what about this family you speak of? What? So? I cut off Michael's words and declared firmly. I don't have a family, do I? On the other side of the phone, Michael gasped, huh? I don't recall ever being treated like family by you all in these 13 years. Caitlin, that's not true. What are you saying? Just by eating together, sleeping, and living together, that alone makes us a family. Regularly being insulted about my appearance and body, laughed at as if I'm an unemployed parasite. After all the times you've exploited me like a servant, you now claim we're a family? What are you even saying? Are you stupid? After my rapid-fire response, there was a brief silence, and then the call abruptly ended. A few minutes later, I received another call, this time from Ryan. The timing was almost too perfect. Michael must have contacted Ryan somehow. Hey, I heard you had a fight with Dad. That was really too much, wasn't it? Dad was furious. If you apologize now, Dad will probably forgive you. So why don't you just say sorry and come back? If you don't, dinner will be late. I couldn't help but hold my head in frustration. I don't know how Michael explained our conversation to Ryan. But both Michael and Ryan believe they are completely blameless. And ultimately, as long as they're okay, that's all that matters to them. That's the reason for Ryan's statement just now. He doesn't even question why I left the house, even skipping Scott's graduation. Instead, he's worried about his dinner being late. Why should I apologize? And for dinner, can't you guys handle it yourselves? My response clearly irritated him. Ryan's words also grow stronger. What's that supposed to mean? That's so irresponsible. Just leaving like that. Do you understand? Mom, you've been living off Dad. Being supported by him. I've always thought this, but you really should be more grateful. Michael's words echoed in my head. Who do you think has been providing for you? I've heard this line so many times. Michael's usual rhetoric has almost become a curse, deeply ingrained in the children. It's so anachronistic. Do they realize how much they'll struggle in life because of this mindset? I let out a sigh and said to Ryan. You and Scott really are just like Michael. What? What are you talking about suddenly? Of course, we are. We're his kids. Yes, you are. And you better be careful. You two are not suited for modern marriage. Ryan let out a confused, huh? Just like Michael, he lacks self-awareness. What? Just because you're upset, you say such absurd things. His voice trembles when he's upset, just like his father. Well, it's okay. I have other things I want to discuss, so I'll come by soon for a final goodbye. Can you let Michael know? Wait, a final goodbye? What do you mean by that? Wait, hey. I can't wait. Goodbye. Even after I hung up, the phone continued to ring persistently, but I decided to ignore it until it stopped. A month later, I was visiting Michael's house for one last resolution. When I rang the doorbell, Michael appeared with loud footsteps. Caitlin. You came back. I believed you would. I really believed it. Michael looked somewhat haggard after a month. Perhaps it was his unkempt appearance. His clothes were wrinkled and dirty, and his complexion wasn't great. Above all, he emitted a thoroughly exhausted vibe, completely lacking any energy. As he approached and grabbed my shoulder, I quickly shook off his hand. Don't touch me without permission, okay? We're not family or anything anymore. What? What are you saying, Caitlin? We're just separated for a cool-down period, aren't we? No one ever said that. Michael had just concocted that idea to suit his own convenience. It's amazing how he always comes up with such convenient ideas. In a way, it's impressive. I was so happy thinking you had finally come back. That's not it at all. On the contrary. I came here today to settle things once and for all with you. Settle things? Michael asked back with a twitching, forced smile. I nodded affirmatively. Let's get a divorce. We need to thoroughly discuss alimony and division of property. Upon entering the living room, it was empty. Neither Ryan nor Scott, who were supposed to be off today, were around. Where are the kids? They're each in their rooms. They shouldn't know you're coming. Should I call them now? No, thank you. After all, this isn't a fun chat we're about to have, it's a messy divorce talk. There's no point in making the children listen to this. It's only been a month since I was away, yet why has the house changed so drastically? Clothes are strewn all over, and the table is crowded with finished plates and plastic bags. The sink is so packed that I can't even tell what's underneath anymore. It seems impossible to do any washing up here. While glancing at the messy room, I managed to sit in a chair, avoiding the clutter on it. Shall we start then? I want to settle this as soon as possible. As soon as I sat down at the table, Michael apologized with unbelievable speed. Stop it, please. That doesn't help, and my mind hasn't changed. Michael hung his head and shook it vigorously. Please, let's not divorce. This month has shown us how much we truly need you. Michael shouted, raising his voice. The old me might have been swayed by just that. But over the years, I've grown stronger. Such childish tricks won't work anymore. Right, without your slave here, there's no one to do all the housework and be the maid, huh? A maid. Michael averted his gaze quickly. I smiled and replied. You always ridiculed housework. It must have been hard, right? It's tedious and complicated. I knew you guys, clumsy and impatient as you are, could never handle it. What? That's ridiculous. Michael glared at me. In his excitement, his nostrils flared as usual. If I'm humble, you act all high and mighty. I could do housework if I weren't working. It's just because I'm busy with my job. It's easy for you, you were just part-time. You wouldn't understand my struggles. Right, I wouldn't understand. Especially the struggles of a man who, despite being remarried, dumps the kids on his new spouse and cheats with another woman. What? Until just now, Michael's face, red with anger, suddenly drained of color and turned pale. Cheating? What are you talking about? Did you think it wasn't obvious? I've known everything. Michael's lips quivered as he continued. If you knew, why have you been acting normal all this time and now suddenly divorce? It's all for the sake of the children. Since the doctor told me, I thought I would never have kids. Yet, by marrying Michael, I became a mother to Ryan and Scott. Michael's cheating, his verbal abuse, the kids' mocking attitude. I can't count how many times I thought about just divorcing and giving up. But I persevered because I loved those two young boys. That's why I decided to endure everything until Scott finished middle school. No way. Can't be. Turning toward the voices, there stood Ryan and Scott, frozen in shock. Their faces were even paler than Michael's. Mom, I'm not asking anything from you two. I don't expect an apology as well. Instead, from now on, I won't be here. There won't be anyone to do things for you for free. Ryan and Scott awkwardly closed their mouths. I turned back to Michael. You're still cheating, aren't you? Well. His hesitation to deny it was as good as an admission. If you agree to divorce now, I won't ask for alimony from her. What? On the other hand, if you refuse to divorce, I'm prepared to confront her as well, and even visit your workplace. What will it be? Which option do you prefer? Michael pondered deeply. Sweat beaded on his forehead, running down his cheeks and dropping to the floor. Are you really not coming back? His eyes, looking up at me, were brimming with tears. Yes. Absolutely not. She can't do any housework. She doesn't work either. Remarrying her, there's no benefit in it. Michael stammered as he made his appeal. It seems he still hasn't realized that this very idea is a mistake. What benefit? When will you learn? Families shouldn't be about benefits. Instead, let me ask, what have you ever given me? All I remember is being tormented. Sorry, so sorry. Don't demand from others what you lack yourself. I couldn't help but let 13 years of resentment seep into my words. Michael screamed and then accepted the divorce. I had brought the divorce papers, and he signed them as instructed. Afterwards, the divorce was finalized without a hitch. He agreed to pay alimony in installments. Incidentally, after our divorce, his affair partner dumped him quickly. She was attracted to you because you were someone else's. Once we divorced, you were just a single old man. Even Michael, usually so full of self-assurance, seemed to take a hit from this. Being called, without merit, tande unattractive both by his ex-wife and his affair partner seems to have shocked him greatly. It's just the truth, but he doesn't want to accept it. This shock seems to be affecting him still, leading to numerous mistakes at work. Both kids have started to change a bit. Especially Ryan, who is desperately trying to change himself. Apparently, the reason is that he was harshly dumped by his first girlfriend, who told him, I don't need a boyfriend who is as outdated as you. I'm at my limit and don't intend to get involved anymore, but if change is possible, I hope they succeed. However, given their current state, it seems like it would take a significant effort. I've started a new life near my hometown. For the first time since before my marriage, I'm living alone. With this new start, I decided to quit my previous part-time job and look for full-time employment near my new home. It might be tough at my age, but living alone and working part-time is too dull. I've always been a hard worker, and being idle doesn't suit me. If I can't find a full-time job, maybe I'll consider juggling multiple part-time jobs. Or maybe I'll pick up a new hobby. These days, that's what I'm thinking about.